The music has ended, and so we begin. Good morning. Welcome to the Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship, all those of you here present and those with us on Zoom. I'm the Reverend Marcia Volkamer, and I'm honored to be your celebrant today. Preparing for this morning, I was reminded how often the words of a hymn say all that needs saying. Our first hymn reads, "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair." How better could one describe and extend welcome?
Good morning. I'm Peter Luton. I'm a member here at East Shore, retired Unitarian Universalist minister, so watch your tongue. And it is a pleasure to be invited back into the pulpit to guide worship this morning. And I'm really appreciative of all the help I've gotten from Marcia and Karen and Liz and Patricia, who will be part of the service, and the sound crew, who make me sound wonderful and know to cut off the mic when I sing. It's really, really wonderful. Welcome, one and all. The opening hymn is "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." And what I'm going to ask and invite you to do is we're going to start it, we're going to sing it through 4 times. I'm not much of a round singer, especially when there's only 2 sections and I get lost and I don't know where I am. So we just sing it all together 4 times, but we start soft, and Karen will play louder and make us get louder, so that by the end of it, it's like everybody, even the people on Zoom, can hear us without their microphone, okay? Now, one of the things about this hymn that I'm going to invite is it has a bass line that's not included in the texts. And it's an important addition, I think, to the song. And it goes, "Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000." So those of you who would like to, sing that part. And you just sing that part all the way through. You don't have to worry about where everybody else is. You just sing that part. But then, after we've sung that maybe like 3 times or something, Karen's going to break into the song itself, and Patricia will make sure we know when to sing the other bits. That's a long introduction for a relatively short hymn. Let us join in our gathering song. You bow 1,000 times, though you've broken your vow 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken, come, whoever you are, wanderer, lover of leaving, broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, broken your vows 1,000 times.
And now we light the flaming chalice, symbol and sign of our fellowship, assured in the knowledge that ours is no caravan of despair. And together we remember that love is the spirit of our fellowship, and service gives it life, celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth. We work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant.
Good morning. I'm going to sit down here because I don't have a book to show you, but I have a story I want to tell. And so if any of the children want to come up on the rug and sit a little closer, you may. I may have some questions for you at the end. In fact, I have a question for you right at the beginning. Does anyone know what a palindrome is? Yeah? Do you have an example of a palindrome? No. Who's heard of Taco Cat? Oh. They said it's spelled backwards and forwards the same. So you can keep that in mind while I tell you this story. So once upon a time, there was an artist, and he was the most amazing guy. He would walk out of his little home in the village, and the birds would land on his shoulders, and the children would follow him into town, and he'd set up his easel and his paints. And he was very talented. He made some very interesting paintings. Everyone loved this man because he was so kind and gentle and good. And his paintings, well, they were something else. They showed people chopping each other into little pieces, people running around in their birthday suits, just all kinds of things people considered not very good. But they didn't mind the paintings because the man was so good. Sometimes they'd even buy one and hide it in the back of a closet. Well, the devil found out about these paintings, and he was like, wow, those are some spectacular paintings. They'd look real good down here where I live, and all the people down here would love to see them. But then he checked the man out, and he went, oh gosh, that guy, no, he will not make it. He's not going to make it down to hell. What am I going to do? So he decided to wait until he painted 40 paintings, and he would just take the paintings. He's like, 40's enough. I can live with that. But then he thought, maybe after he makes his 40th painting, maybe I'll also steal all his paints and his brushes and stuff. Maybe that'll get me the painter too. So after he painted his 40th gruesome, wild painting, the devil came, took all the paintings, all the brushes, and the man woke up to find his house empty. And as you can imagine, he wasn't very happy about it. And he wasn't a very rich man. In fact, he dug holes to save all the money he needed to buy all those paints and all those canvases, and had made a really good life for himself as an artist. So the devil had a little party downstairs, showed everyone the paintings. Everyone was like, wow, these are great paintings. You really nailed it. We got to get that painter. And he said, just you wait. So the man asked around town, where are my paints and brushes? Has anyone seen them? And everyone's like, no, my gosh, we are so sorry. And they can't find them. So the man had to go back to digging holes. And after days and days and weeks of digging holes, he starts leaving his house, and he's shooing the kids away, and he's yelling at the birds, and he's just getting grumpier and grumpier. But as he's digging the holes, he comes across something very interesting at the bottom of one of his holes, and it was clay. So he pulls the clay out from the hole, and he starts sculpting. And guess what? This guy is just as amazing at sculpting as he is as he is at his paintings. I know, Kivrin's laughing at me. And guess what? Now he's making statues that are gorgeous. Angels and mothers and babies and strong men and wonderful people just doing good things. But the man, oof, you did not want to go near him. He was so grumpy. So eventually, the man died. But he didn't end up in heaven, and he didn't end up in hell. His paintings are in hell, and his sculptures are in heaven. But the man was somewhere in between. And he probably had a lot of really good company. And that. And maybe you can talk about the meaning of the story at coffee, but I'm going to... or upstairs with your teachers, but I'm going to invite everyone to sing the children out.
Peter has asked me to share a reading with you for Stevie by Rick Maston. So, of course, I wanted to know who Rick Maston was, and I was able to read about him on the UU Ministers Association website in his obituary and a true tribute to his life. What an amazing man he was. And I won't tell you all about him. You all know how to find things on the internet, I'm sure. But suffice it to say for this morning, and the sake of brevity, that he's described as a troubadour minister. Peter also made a note on our original planning outline that was probably meant as a cue to me, but I'd like to share that with you as well. This is to be read in the spirit of compassion, even as our hearts are aching and fearful. For Stevie. I ain't waving, babe. I'm drowning, going down in a cold, lonely sea. I ain't waving, babe. I'm drowning, so babe, quit waving at me. I ain't laughing, babe. I'm crying, crying, oh, why can't you see? I ain't fooling, babe, ain't fooling, so babe, quit fooling with me. This ain't singing, babe. This here's screaming. I'm screaming that I'm gonna drown, and you're smiling, babe, and you're waving, babe. I'm drowning, going down, right here in front of you. And you're waving, babe. You keep waving. Hey, babe, are you drowning too? Oh, babe, you're drowning too.
Let us each enter into a time of and space of prayer and meditation, each in their own way. O Spirit of love and life, God of many names and no names, whose essence is love, breathe into us this hour, animate us, help us draw up from our fear and our despair the better angels of our nature. It is given to us to live in days in which great and sweeping changes are taking place, in which truths long assumed are disproven, and foundations long depended upon are found uneasy and seem about to crumble. Days in which the whole structure of our culture and world are threatened and quake. Let us then know that all that makes life meaningful for us does not depend upon governments and systems, does not devolve from artifacts and artifices, from gold and cryptocurrency and possessions, but from the simple and profound relationships of persons with each other, and each of us within that larger interdependent web of existence of which we are part. This is life at last, the only wealth and joy there is. This is the source of love, compassion, and meaning in life. We may pile many complications upon it. We weave many an intricate pattern around it such that it is often hidden from us, and we give our love to things, and we put our trusts in systems and saving heroes, and we look for our joy in devices of the moment. And when these are taken away, when these break and fall, as they most certainly will break and fall, we think our lives have ended. But they have not. The world still turns. The seasons still revolve around one another. The love of friend and family and neighbor is still strong and real. Indeed, this is our lives. Relationship with one another, with the earth, with purpose. Lives lived with compassion and love and hope. This is life, life triumphant, life worth living. We offer this thought and prayer in the name of every child of every age in every land. Each is the hope and the light of the world. Shalom, salam, blessed be, and amen. Let us join, please, in singing together hymn number 348, Guide My Feet. Guide my feet. Hold my hand while I run this race. This morning, I would like to explore with you the Buddhist story of Angulimala the Robber. I have wrestled with this story for 30 years, which tells me that it's an important story and has something to tell us. I've never preached on it before, so I'm kind of working this out as I go. But it explores our capacity for love and hate, our ability to be compassionate and violent at the same time, that we are human. I hope you find it helpful, as I often do. Long ago, in the city of Sravasti, in the kingdom of Kosala in India, a child was born. And when this child was born, all the weapons in the kingdom, from the brightest, strongest, most glorious, jewel-beguiled sword to the most rusty, broken dagger, all the weapons gleamed with a bright, piercing light. And this had never happened before, and the king was quite worried about this. So he called together the wise men and said, "What does it mean? What does it mean?" And they got together and they thought and they figured and they calculated and they came back to the king and they said, "Sire, it means that the child will be a robber." And the king said, "Will he be a lone robber or the leader of a gang of robbers?" And they hadn't considered that. So they went back and thought hard and long again about it. And finally they came back to the king and they said, "He will be a lone robber." And the king said, "Good. What harm can a lone robber do? His father is a loyal minister in the court. He shall be allowed to live, and we will call him Ahimsaka. Ahimsaka, the harmless one." Well, Ahimsaka was sweet and gentle and sensitive and well-liked and nice and everything a parent would want. He was great. And when he came of age to continue his education and learning, he was sent to a very renowned Brahmin teacher who would take him under his wings and teach him about life, about the spirit, about who he was. And the teacher found Ahimsaka to be very engaging, delightful, intelligent, eager to learn, full of questions, just a wonderful guy. And wouldn't you know it, that all the other students started to not like him. They started to be jealous of all the attention that Ahimsaka was given. They began to murmur and whisper and spread rumors about Ahimsaka, that he had made a pass at the teacher's beautiful wife, that he would sneer and giggle behind the teacher's back. Now, the teacher didn't take any truck of any of these rumors and whatnot, but you know how it is with the seeds of rumor and doubt. Broadcast widely enough, they take root. And sure enough, eventually the teacher began to doubt and not trust Ahimsaka. And he began to get angry and frightened about him, and he decided that something had to be done. And he figured out a way that Ahimsaka would no longer be a problem because he would be dead. He called Ahimsaka to him and he said, "My son, your spiritual training is almost over. All you need to do is complete one more task, just one more task, and then your release is certain, your freedom is certain, you will be completed." And Ahimsaka said, "Well, what is it? What is this task?" And the teacher said, you must slay 1,000 people single-handedly. What? What? I should kill 1,000 people? I can't do that, teacher. I can't do that. I can't kill a person. That's the worst sin you know. I can't even kill a mangy old dog. No, I can't do that. No, said his teacher. I've thought a long time about this. I've pondered it, and this is what you must do. Have I not always taught you well? Has not my teaching brought you happiness? Have I not always been kind and generous to you? You must do this. Do not stumble. Do not falter. You must do this. Well, Ahimsaka went to his room that night, and he paced up and down and thought and wondered, and he could not figure how this would help him. But the teacher had been his teacher, had loved him, had always brought him happiness. Perhaps, he said, perhaps there is a teaching, a lesson, something I need to learn in this that I cannot yet or have not yet perceived. And so he decided to take up this task. And he grabbed his sword, and he grabbed his spear, and he grabbed his polished bow and his quiver of barbed arrows, slung it over his shoulder, and left the compound. He looked back at the huts and the temples that had been his home, and he sighed once, and then entered into the forest where the shadows swallowed him. And Ahimsaka began his task. He killed one, he killed another, and another, and another. And as he killed, his eyes became blurrier and dimmer, and he no longer saw the sky or the flowers, and his ears became clogged. He did not hear the birds. His body became more sluggish and heavy. His fists were like stones at his side as he was focused solely on his task. And so he killed first one, and another, and another, and another, and another, until he found that he could not keep count of how many he had killed. Ahimsaka could not keep count, and so he thought of a very clever thing. He decided to cut a finger off of each of his victims, and he put it around a greasy necklace that he had been given, and he could use these fingers to keep count. And the people began to spread rumors, their stories about this man who had fingers, dead fingers, dancing on his neck. And that's how he got his name, Angulimala. Angulimala, which means grisly garland. And then, after a time, at night, counting, Angulimala discovered he had only one more victim, and he would be free. One more victim. And this brought for him a tremor of joy that he was so close to his purpose being fulfilled. And so he grabbed up his spear and his sword and his polished bow and his quiver of arrows, and he set out to find the last victim. I'm kind of exhausted by that, and I'm going to ask Karen to play us a little music where we can get our breath again and maybe find our center. At the same time, the Buddha was in Sravasti, where Angulimala had been born. He was in a grove with his monks, and he heard a woman weeping and wailing. And he went to find her and ask her, what's bothering you, mother? And she said, it's my son, Ahimsaka, my only son. He is the grisly garland. He is Angulimala. I know it. I dreamt it. I felt it. I just know it. And now the king's men, the whole army is in the forest looking for him, and they will kill him. They will kill my only son. And the Buddha told her that the king's men will not kill your son. I will go and I will find him and I will bring him home safe to you. And he set out into the woods on the dusty path. And before long, Angulimala, who had been crouching low in the bushes, saw his final victim. And as the final victim passed him, he leapt out from behind and said, "Halt, stop where you are, for this is your last day of life. Today I fulfill my destiny." But the Buddha did not stop or look or turn around or flinch. The Buddha simply kept walking on. Walk, run if you want, it doesn't matter. You will die today. And Angulimala picked up his sword and his spear and his polished bow and his quiver of arrows, and he started to run after the Buddha. And he ran, and he ran, and he ran hard, but no matter how hard he ran, he could not get close enough even for an arrow shot or a spear throw. And yet the Buddha was simply walking along. He ran, his sides heaved, sweat burned his eyes, until finally he just stopped and leaned on his spear and was gasping for breath. And the Buddha called back to him, "I have stopped, but you have not," and kept walking. Well, this completely unhinged Angulimala. How can you say you have stopped when you are still walking, and that I have not stopped when I am standing right here? What is going on? Tell me. And the Buddha turned back and said, "It means, harmless one, that I have stopped harming people, and you most certainly have not." And hearing his real name and hearing the truth proclaimed, a veil was lifted from Angulimala's eyes and from his heart, and he crumbled into the ground with his weapons clattering beside him, and he let out a shriek of pain and sorrow, and he wept for all that he had done. And the Buddha came to him and said, "Are you willing to die for your life?" And the one who had been Ahimsaka said, "Most certainly am I willing to die for all the horrible things I have done." "Then rise and follow me," said the Buddha. And Angulimala said, "No, I cannot follow you, not with all I have done. Go, find the king's men, tell them where I am. They can come and slay me. Tell them I will not lift a finger against them." But the Buddha said, "The time to surrender and die is not now. The time now is short for you to struggle and live, rise and follow. So, Angulimala rose. He became a monk. He joined the community in Stravista, community of monks. And he discovered that he had a gift. If a woman was in hard labor and she was brought into his presence, the labor would be completed and fulfilled like water pouring out of a pitcher. Even if animals were in hard labor, their birth would be facilitated just by his presence. How could one who had slaughtered so many bring such healing? The women praised him and thanked him for all the healing and soothing that he brought, but that brought no healing and no soothing to Angulimala, because every day and every night he saw again the faces of the murdered. He heard their screams. He felt the weight of his sword on their body. He heard them plea and beg for their life. I have a wife, I have children, I have an aged parent. None of it mattered. They died. And he would break into tears and say, what have I have done? I have opened the gates of hell. And the Buddha would come to him and say, patience, patience, the time is not here. One hot, dusty day, Angulimala was walking through town with his alms bowl, and a woman with a nursing child opened the door and put a little rice or fruit in his bowl and slid inside, and he bowed to her and walked on. And then, suddenly, he was struck. He was struck. His alms bowl flew away and broke. The robes that he wore were torn from his shoulders. It was as if every stone that had been thrown at a mangy dog or a crow, as if every stick or cudgel or whatever that had been used to prod forward or whip an animal, a horse, an ox, it was, if every dagger, if every sword, if every spear lifted against another person in the city or in the farmlands or the woods around them had been struck at once, at the same time, directly on him and not at those for whom it was intended. He was broken in bones, bleeding, suffering, feeling immense pain. And somehow he drew himself together, gathered up his tattered robe, and went to find the Buddha. And when he found the Buddha sat down in the dust next to him and said, "This is the time now. Patience. Do not take refuge in hope or fear. Just feel this. Be where you are." And he relived all of his murders. But this time he didn't hold on to them. He was able to let them go. He remembered his childhood, and he saw visions of the trees and the water, and he could hear the sounds of his playmates laughing, and he could see his parents, but he didn't hold them. He just let them go. And eventually, when his mind had been shattered, he had an infinite moment of tasting nirvana. And he said, lesser men subdue with swords and cudgels and hooks. To my eternal relief, I have been subdued by the Buddha's compassion. And then he sighed once, twice, and he died. And when he died, every weapon in the city and the lands around once again shone with a piercing light. But this time it was a cleansing light, because the harmless one had come home. Now you may ask, is this any kind of story to tell in church? I think it is. It's got all the elements. It talks about the way we label our kids and the way that we will often direct people into lives that they wouldn't have necessarily chosen, but you know, a kid born under those circumstances, what can you expect? It tells of the power and the danger of jealousy, of rumor, of not trusting your own soul, your own inner being. It tells you about the possibilities and the necessity of owning up to the wrong we have done, the harm we have done. The harmless one becomes the grisly garland when he loses touch with his own soul and sets his ego on the goal of release and peace, a false peace, a peace devoid of human compassion or human touch, but a peace of invulnerability nonetheless. How often we protect ourselves, we cut others off to protect ourselves, but only when he reaches out to the Buddha in his exhaustion and his confusion does Angulimala begin to recover his soul, to remember who he is. But before he does, he has to pass through all of that pain again. He has what the spiritual teachers have called the dark night of the soul, when we feel utterly abandoned, lost, like foam on the ocean's surface. But it is the Buddha's compassion that carries him through that dark night to his release. It's harsh. It's very harsh. But I believe that that is part of how love works to heal and unite and transform Angulimala. Also to heal and unite the community that he has torn apart. We must choose to accept what we have done and who we are, good, bad, and indifferent. We must learn to acknowledge our own capacity for apathy in the face of suffering and hatred towards those we fear. The man's prayer at Possum Lodge doesn't cut it. I'm a man, but I can change if I have to, I guess. The fourth step in Alcoholics Anonymous is to do a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And then the fifth step is to admit to God, ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. On Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement in Judaism, Jewish people are required, the same things are required of practicing Jew. To admit where they have broken the bonds of relationship, where they have sinned, where they have not done as they should have done, been caring as they should have been caring, where they have lied when they should have told the truth. And then they have to actually make it right with the other person if possible, acknowledge it. That's hard. That's very hard. It's very hard for me to acknowledge that from my privileged place, I actually have, well, let's put it this way. When I am asked to admit my sins, I suspect, like you, I mostly come up with my foibles. We're more likely, I think, to be like Angulimala's jealous classmates and his disloyal teacher than we are to be like Angulimala himself. But how do you overcome the evil you've done? Except that you did it. There might be a price to pay. And you can't have compassion, perhaps, until you've kind of been there, until you've received it, until you've needed it, until you've been forgiven. Which leads me to Mrs. Sims. Mrs. Sims was an elderly parishioner of the Reverend Angus MacLean, a Universalist minister and the minister of religious education in the congregation in which I grew up. He was old when I knew him. He had began his ministry in the 1920s on the plains of Alberta, Canada. And that's where he discovered the wonder that is Mrs. Sims. I believe that Mrs. Sims was a sort of guiding angel in his life, as she has become for me, though I only know her by her reputation. Here's how Angus describes her in one of his books. Mrs. Sims said she didn't know what to make of this life. She said it puzzled her. She didn't think seeking the truth was very rewarding. She rather found release and a sense of worth through her generosity towards people and creatures. Tramps, dogs and cats, the sick, the worried, the bereaved, always seemed to find their way to her door. She took the commandment to judge not literally. I find the judging of people too difficult, she said, so I treat them all alike. What people deserve doesn't concern me. When her neighbors argued with her for trusting people too much after her house had been entered and robbed, she replied, I have been robbed legally and politely all my life. So why should the illegal appropriation of my meager property be so different? Mrs. Sims, I'm sure, knew that her compassion, her kindness, came with risks. I'm pretty sure she also knew that if she didn't respond that way, she'd lose more than her possessions. She'd lose her soul. She would not be the person she wanted to be. She would be lost. She would not be part of the community. And so she was willing to take the risk of kindness and compassion, a kind of win-win choice over the decision to put up walls, to be a little reticent, to be a little greedy. Befriending people, being honest to oneself is the same thing. I believe that we have it in us to be like Mrs. Sims. I'd kind of like to be like Ahimsaka and Angulimala, who, though they broke their vows almost 1,000 times, still they found compassion and release from the pain that comes from giving pain. We have it in us to be gentle and harsh. We have it in us the ability to be patient and to show the kind of love that breaks the eye for an eye circle of abuse. We can do this, hard as it is. We can do this, individually and as communities together. We can do this. This day and every day, may you know peace. Shalom, salam, blessed be, and amen. Let us sing together hymn number 100, I've Got Peace Like a River. Peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a
Well, this has been a morning. Whew. If you don't have any plans immediately after the service, please join us for coffee downstairs. You can say hello to old friends and introduce yourself to someone new to you. There are important announcements in the order of service, and I've been asked to let you know, because it didn't make it to the order of service, that the hospitality team will be holding an ice cream social on Saturday, August 23rd from 2 to 4 p.m. Mark your calendars now, maybe not right this instant, but if you can remember from now till later. Saturday, August 23rd, 2 o'clock, and plan to attend this family-friendly event. As the ushers come forward to pass the offering baskets and we give a part of what has been given to us for the common good, rest quietly in Karen's beautiful gift of music, Come to Me.
Go in peace. Go for peace. For those of you who know God, may God travel with you. For those who seek to embrace life, may life return your affection. And for those who seek a better path, may a way be found and the courage to take it, step by step. Amen. 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 And let us circle round for freedom.
Oh my God.